Welcome back to the Soapbox. I'm Steve. I'm your host. You, my friends, are free thinkers and more importantly, maybe more importantly, free speakers. And that's actually exactly what I wanted to talk to you about today. Freedom of speech and freedom of press and freedom of religion and freedom of assembly. The First Amendment. See, here's the deal. I just got done with my second semester at Iowa State University, which makes me a senior now. I'm working for my bachelor's degree in marketing. A big part of marketing is communication, and that involves, pardon me, that involves a lot of freedom of speech. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about an assignment that I had. It was to go to an art gallery on campus called the React Gallery, where they were doing a show all about freedom of speech. But it was thought-provoking and infuriating at the same time. They call it the React Gallery because you're supposed to interact with the art. Let me just read you a little excerpt from the essay that I was required to do for this class. There was an artist called Frank Miller, and he was a political cartoonist, or is, I'm not sure if he's still alive. Probably should have done some research there. Anyway, so let me talk a little bit about that. One piece by Miller that moved me was called Tear Gas Victim. The work was black and white, watercolor, and it was of someone sitting on the ground with their head in their hands. It was very simple. They were covering their face, and in the background appeared to be the back of someone else's head as they lay facing away from the spectator. I really liked the piece because it reminded me of the Rue Transonian, which if you haven't seen it yet, look it up. It's Ruetransonian. The story behind it is fascinating, and you need to see it. Anyway, it was one of my favorite pieces discussed in the class, but a quote featured on the note card next to Tear Gas Victim speaks of the right of the public to protest over the wrongs committed by people in power. All too often in modern times, though, we see protesters exercising their right to assemble being met with police and peace officers who are armed with guns filled with rubber bullets, tear gas canisters, pepper spray, nightsticks, water hoses, and more, all to fight back against often unarmed peaceful protesters. Now, if we, as free American citizens, can't speak up against that which we feel is wrong for fear of molestation or assault, our very freedom is threatened. Now, we live in a society that has been spoiled with technology, and it provides instant feedback and instant gratification. So as a result, we've become addicted to instant gratification, and many have forgotten how to delay instant gratification. We may set out to research, but all too often we end up just seeking confirmation bias rather than verified news. We refuse to research, and instead we opt to regurgitate the opinions of others, and we lift those who should be vilified to unworthy perches for their willful ignorance and spiteful spread of hatred and lies. Each generation before this one has found a reason to stand up and speak out. The marches and sit-ins of the civil rights movement, the women's liberation marches, and more recently the LGBTQ movement have all had their moments, and all of these moments have forced results. Change for the better overall. Until very recently, the current generation hasn't found its voice, a reason to speak up and unite and be heard. They've not become unified under a single cause. Again, until recently. They've begun to march, they've begun to speak up, and their voices are loud and clear. But what's next? In the past, marches and protests have been met with violence, which led to more violence. Tear gas and hate speech led to riots. When they are successful, these marches, politicians are supposed to step forth and vote for change. Will this generation be given such respect by those that they've elected? Or would they be told to sit down and shut up or face the tear gas? Here's something to ponder. Where is our Martin Luther King Jr.? Where's our Malcolm X? Where's our Maya Angelou? Who will lead us in this movement, this revolution, and make sure that the voices matter and are heard, and they continue to matter and continue to be heard, and that actions will be taken to right the wrongs? Who will make sure that there's accountability? What's next? I suppose I'll step off the metaphorical soapbox. But these are all things that I could have said in any of the many literal soapboxes that were found around the React gallery. Visitors were encouraged to stand atop the boxes if they wanted to speak about whatever they wanted, and were with the promise of the staff hearing them. But my question is, to what end? I mean, you can talk about whatever you want, but what's the point of having a voice and using it just because? I mean, I understand that the idea was to encourage freedom of speech and create an interactive exhibit and environment where visitors could become part of the experience. I get that. The curators no doubt wanted to cultivate an environment that would allow for a dialectic where these people would be able to interact. The pieces displayed were the thesis, and the spectators could provide a momentary antithesis, using the soapboxes or the opportunity to leave post-it notes next to a piece to further the conversation. But therein lies the rub. A dialectic, or any conversation, requires a two-way interaction. That's even in this video. I'm talking to myself, my camera that is mounted very strangely on top of my computer, and I'm reading it off the screen, what I've prepared, but you're watching it. That makes it two-way. You have the opportunity to comment. You have the opportunity to share. So yeah, it can be interactive. Is it now? Not really. But if I left a random post-it next to a piece of art, when does the artist get the opportunity to react to my post-it, to interact with me and continue the conversation? Here's the thing. That's not what happened here. There was a moment that was created, but then it ends arguably pointlessly. You put a post-it up, and that's it. Again, I found myself asking two vital questions. Why and what's next? I mean, shouldn't there be a point beyond the superficial opportunity to use one's First Amendment rights? If the curators really wanted to encourage something that grants visitors a unique opportunity to express themselves and start a conversation, they would have had one of those soapboxes outside of the gallery and handed the speaker a bullhorn. I mean, that would have given the opportunity for somebody to speak out, be heard, and be interacted with. What's at least likely to happen was that at least one spectator would have found the courage to give their thoughts a voice, but it takes more than that. It takes a single strong voice to spark the flames of the next revolution. Perhaps that opportunity would have been given to the viewer, and they would have been given the courage to step up, or they would have taken the courage to step up and speak out and become the next Martin or the next Malcolm or Maya. Perhaps we'll never know. Another option would have been for ask the participants who wish to have their voices heard, step up on a soapbox, and then give them permission, or ask for their permission rather, to be filmed. Then they could edit these short videos together at the end of each day and display them on a loop video in the gallery. This would allow participants to truly become part of the show and then interact with the video that they saw by either filming their reaction to the video or let them step up and speak out. The conversation is continued even when they're not there. And if the videos are shared online, it has the potential of going viral, and so the voices can be heard and become an inspiration to millions, potentially globally. However, neither of these options exist at the React Gallery. Because there's little chance that things said on the soapboxes will ever travel beyond the confines of the room, and the post-it leavers barely had enough room to formulate a thought, let alone spark a greater long-term thought-provoking conversation, the experience was superficial. The presence of such superficiality is a punctum in the stadium of the purpose of the exhibit, and it's a serious loss of potential. It can be argued that the very presence of the post-its and soapboxes inspired this very video. But again, and that again furthers the conversation, but again I ask, to what end? I mean, what's the point? Who's gonna watch this video? Who's gonna hear these words? What changes will come? Why? Why does any of this matter? Perhaps a better, more meaningful question is, what's next? So I ask you, dear viewer, do you have a unique perspective or a voice that needs to be heard? I guarantee that you do. So what are you going to do to make it be heard? That's a very serious question. You have important things to say, and they shouldn't go unrecorded, or at least unmentioned. Keep a journal. Maybe the next generation will see it. You never know what thoughts or ideas that you have that matter could be out there. It takes balls to put yourself out there. It takes balls for me to do this video. Heck, I've read 90% of it, and I've never made a video where I read 90% of it. My cat was up here messing with the camera and messing with me the entire time, but I had to stay on point. I had to keep the message going because I feel that strongly about it. It's important that what you say is heard because what you have to say matters if it matters to you. And it can make a difference. In fact, it's the only way to make a difference. But the problem is this. If you're going to say something, if you're going to take that step and those actions, you need to make sure that it has a point. What do I mean by this? Well, do your research. Know what it is that you're going to talk about. Don't just say things for the sake of saying them. Make sure that what you say is worth hearing. Otherwise, you're just wasting your freedom of speech. Now, I'm glad to live in America. I'm glad to live in a place that is not a tyrannical state that's run by a monarchy or a totalitarian government where I can do videos like this. And even if 2 people, 3 people see them, it's been seen. If you've made it all the way through this video to this point, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And it tells me that you not only have an open mind, but you're a good friend, even if I don't know you. I know that sounds corny. The soapbox was meant to be this. It was meant to be an opportunity for me to say things that I felt mattered, but also go on rants and tangents about things that don't matter as much. You can share this video. You can like this video. You can comment on it. And that gives the opportunity for this thought-provoking essay on freedom of speech to be spread. So I challenge you to do that. Take a minute, hit a like button, hit a share button, whatever. Get it out there. Leave a comment. Carry on the conversation. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, be the antithesis and leave a comment. Carry on the conversation. In the next episode will probably be about video games and where I feel like they are going and where I feel like they've been and the different types of video games. This is kind of a crazy thing, this soapbox. It's a social experiment for me. And I think a lot of the videos will be rough and rough cut, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. So stick around with me as I travel on this strange journey. Now I'm going to step off the soapbox. Thanks again. Take care.